All right, welcome. We are about to start the tab walkthrough for the song Waterbound. Just checking my feed and technology, and everything seems to be working as it should. So, if you are watching this on YouTube, feel free to use the comment box there. If you are watching this inside the Banjo Virtual Classroom in the Breakthrough Banjo course, you will notice there is a comment box underneath the video which you may use. And I will check that periodically as I am working through this tab. So, what I'm going to do here is work through the tab for the song Waterbound. It is a great old-time banjo song, a classic. It's part of the Clawhammer Banjo Top 10, which was voted on. And it's also known as Stay All Night and sometimes referred to as Down in North Carolina. This is one of the songs that's in the Vault. The Vault is a library of Clawhammer tabs that's part of the Breakthrough Banjo course. There's a link in the video description if you want to look and see what all tabs are in there. I think there are over 400 and counting, so new ones being added all the time, and this is one of them. You'll also find a few other things in the video description that are worth looking at. Number one, if you don't have it already, you can grab the tab for this tune. I think the first link you'll find there is the link to download the tab. And then there's some other important things there, including an article for how I recommend going about learning songs from tab, like we're going to do here. So the primary objective is kind of to help you to understand how to interpret these, how these different techniques that we're using sound, so that ultimately you'll be able to do this for yourself and construct your own arrangements for things using the tools and techniques of Clawhammer Banjo. That's certainly the goal for any of you who are part of the Breakthrough Banjo course. And so take a look at that and the other links that are in the description. You'll also find, you should find a link to the original video where I play this song in its entirety. And a couple other things. If you aren't already, and you might want to subscribe to this channel if you want to see future live workshops, especially if you want to get notifications when they're coming on. Subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoy these workshops and videos and want these to continue to make some of these live, I do these frequently as part of the course. But if you want these to continue to come live periodically on the channel, hit the thumbs up button to know that you enjoy them and you'd like to see more. All right. So hopefully that's enough time for everybody who wanted to catch this when it started to get in here. So I'm going to get going working through this song. And just this is your first time watching, don't be alarmed. I do have a head. It's just covered up by the tab, which is more important for you to see than my head. All right. So let's begin. First things first, the tuning for this is in standard G tuning, which some of you may be happy to know. So standard G is D on our 4th string, G on the 3rd, B on the 2nd, D on the 1st, and G on the 5th. So standard G tuning, that means that the song that we're playing is going to be in the key of G. And it's a song that it's a tune that you can sing that has some words to it for part of it, which I do sing in the demonstration video. Ian asks about the thumb. There should be a thumbs up icon right underneath the video, Ian. But if you don't see it, no worries. All right. So first things first. Now the just so you know, if you see the tab at the top of the screen, you see that little blue square. I'll try to remember to move that along as I move through each measure. So whichever measure it's on is typically the measure that I'm working on at any given time. I'm going to just sing through this song you can kind of think of as having a verse or having two parts, an A part and a B part. When people sing this song, we only tend to sing on the A part. And with that, there's usually sort of a verse and then a refrain. And that refrain sounds like this. Stay all night and don't go home. Stay all night and don't go home. Stay all night and don't go home. Stay with me till morning. So that's just the melody to have in your mind right now as we're working through this. Hopefully you've heard this song before, so you kind of have a basic idea of this melody. So we begin this first measure is just a pickup. So a pickup where we play the open third string followed by a hammer-on to the second fret of the third string. And I use my middle finger for that hammer-on, and I'm preparing for a slide, which is in the next measure. So the first measure is just that little pickup. Moving to the next measure, we're going to slide from the second to the fourth string on the third string with our middle finger. I mean, second to the fourth fret, excuse me, on the third string using our middle finger. And then keeping that finger in place, just play a brush thumb. And then we do that same thing again, just double it. So that measure is just, and with the pickups. Okay, move on to the next measure. All right, so here you'll note I play the open second string followed by a drop thumb, which is indicated with the T underneath that note on the third string second fret. So like this. Sorry. So I'm playing the open second, and followed by a thumb on the third while I'm fretting at the second fret. Now, if you wanted to not drop thumb, do something different there, you could easily do that as an alternate string hammer-on with your middle finger again, like this, or as a drop thumb. And then the next note you see in parentheses is a skip note. So that means that after that thumb, I'm going to bring my hand down as if I'm striking the strings, but I'm going to miss them on purpose. So whether or not you're doing that as a drop thumb or as an alternate string hammer on, the next note, to give that note some space, I just skip it and then play the thumb on the fifth. So that whole figure. Or if you were doing it as an alternate string hammer-on. Now, if you weren't playing that as a skip note, you could do this. And just strum after that as an alternate string hammer-on. So again, those are some options for you. The reason why oftentimes we do skip strokes is to highlight a particular note. Usually it's a syncopated melody note, so we let it kind of stand out. So that's that first half of that measure, and then release your finger and just play the open third followed by a brush thumb. So that whole measure. Or. And now, move my box. We're going to hammer on from the open third to the third string second fret. But we're moving to a D chord here, and I'm playing this as as a partial D chord, where third string second fret and second string third fret, and then the fourth and first strings are open. That is the sound, and you might want to finger that with the index, if you're probably used to it, but the index of the third string on the third string and ring finger on the second string. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that hammer on, but I'm bringing my fingers down into that chord shape so that it's ready when I play that strum thumb afterwards. So like this. And then I'm going to play a pull-off from the 3rd string 2nd fret to the open 3rd and release my fingers and then just play a brush thumb. So that whole measure. And now we'll get to the last measure we see up here. Open 3rd string starts it, and then it's this hammer on to the 4th string 2nd fret after we strike that open 3rd string. So like this. And again, that's noted by, you see the 2 with the circle underneath it. That indicates that that note is to be played by a fretting finger, and in this finger it's the 2nd finger that I'm using, which is my middle finger. And so we're playing that as a hammer on. And again, we have a skip stroke that follows that. So I bring my hand down, don't hit anything, and then hit the 5th string. And then release my finger, play the open 4th, followed by a brush thumb. So that whole measure. And so this whole sequence at the top from the start sounds like this. Sorry. Let's move to the next set of measures. I'll pause quickly for some questions. We got any? All right, good. All right. So this next set of measures, we are going to start with a hammer on from the open 4th to the 2nd string, to the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and then follow that right by a pull-off on the same string from the 2nd fret to the open string. Again. And then follow it with the open 3rd. And then a slide on the 3rd string 2nd fret to the 3rd string 4th fret. So that whole measure, let me move my blue box so we know we're talking about this measure. This whole measure is this, sounds like this. One more time. Okay, and then after that slide, it's a skip stroke, which we see as the parentheses around that note. So again, where you have the slide that leads into this measure, skip stroke followed by a thumb on the 5th, and then we see the open 1st followed by another thumb on the 5th. So all together with that slide leading into it. Oops, sorry. And then the second half of this measure, we form our C chord. First, index finger, 1st fret of the 2nd string, ring finger, 2nd fret of 1st string, middle finger, 2nd fret of 4th string. Then we play the 1st string followed by a brush thumb. So that whole measure with that leading slide before it. Next measure, we're moving back to our G chord in this song, so we're back to the open strings of the banjo, which is the G chord. Play the open 1st, followed by a brush thumb. And then we have this little descending figure, which kind of closes out this first pass through this first A part. So starts with the open 1st, followed by a drop thumb to the open 2nd. Then the third string 2nd fret, followed by a thumb on the 5th string. So those 4 notes. Together that entire measure. Next measure. Play the open 3rd, followed by a brush thumb. The open 3rd again. And that closes out this A part. So I'll play this from the start of the top of the screen. So now what we're doing, you'll see this pickup note again. These 2 pickup notes that we started the song with, we're essentially going back again through the A part. So you could play it, if you play it a second time, play it exactly as you just did. What we're going to go through now is kind of a variation of that same A part that we just did. So we'll start again with these pickups. Open 3rd to the 3rd string 2nd fret. and then move to this beginning of our second pass through this A part, where we're going to do things a little bit different than before. So here, we'll start with the open second string, and then a hammer-on to the second fret of the third string, like this. And then release that finger, play the open third, and a hammer-on back onto that second fret of the third string. So those first 4 notes are like this. And with that pickup note before it sounds like this. And then we're going to do that same thing again. Open second string, followed by that hammer-on to the second fret of the third string. And then release and play that hammer-on the third string again. So again, just going back and forth on this second fret. So starting with that pickup note leading into this last measure. Oops, sorry. So again. Okay, and I'll just play again through the entire top of this, what we see at the top of the screen before we move on. Here it is. Let's move to the next set of measures. Change that to a parentheses there. All right. Pause for any questions. All right. Okay, so the next set of measures, we're doing that alternate string hammer-on one more time from the open second to the second fret of the third string. And then we have a skip stroke. Play nothing, but bring our hand down to the 5th string and play the 5th string. So that sounds like... Let me move my blue box to know we're on this set of measures. All right. And then play the open third followed by a brush thumb. And again, like we did before, so this whole measure, it sounds like this. Again. All right, so now, like we did before, gonna hammer on in this open D chord. So hammer from the open third to the second fret of the third string as we're bringing our other finger down to make that partial D chord shape. Follow with a brush thumb. And then have 2 little pull-offs on this third string from the second fret to the open. So that whole measure. All right, now begins this measure with a skip stroke. So bringing my hand down, hitting nothing, then playing the thumb on the 5th. So, and then the following note after that is the second fret of the 4th string, followed again by a thumb on the 5th. So those 4 notes. So combining with those 2 pull-offs from the previous measure. And again, that skip note highlights that last note from the previous measure. Which is a little bit syncopated, and that's why I choose to put a skip in there. The last half of this measure, we just have the open 4th string followed by a strum thumb. Next measure, again we have this hammer on from the 4th open to the second fret of the 4th string, and then followed by a pull off from the second fret to the open. Which we did before. This is replicating what we did earlier in this pass of the A part. Next note is open third. So, and then that same slide, second fret of the 3rd string to the 4th fret. Now, skip stroke, just as we did before. Play the 5th string, and then the open first. So with that preceding slide. And then, last part of this measure, placing our fingers on the C chord again, playing the first string with our C chord shape in place, followed by a strum thumb. So all together with everything you see at the top of the screen. All right, move to our next set of measures where we're going to close out this second pass through the A part. Okay. Check for comments real quick. Okay, good. Questions? All right, so now back to the G chord. Just play the open first, followed by a strum thumb. And then the same descending 4 notes. Opens first, followed by a drop thumb to the open second. Second fret of the 3rd string, followed by a thumb on the 5th. And then release that fret, play the open 3rd, followed by a strum. Whoops, let me make sure I'm on the right. I got my thing here. So let me play through this measure where my blue box is again, is like this. Now, closing out this second pass through the A part. Now we're moving into the B part, if you listen to the demonstration version, this part is just a solo instrumental part. People don't typically, there's not any words that I'm aware of for this part of the tune. So it's just an instrumental. So I start this with a hammer on into a C chord. So this part of the song begins with a C chord, this B part. So here I am, here's the start of that hammer on, and it's bridging these 2 measures. So that's what I'm doing. I'm hammering on to the entire chord. So I'm strumming the open strings and then hammering on to the entire C chord shape. You could just probably do that, the 1st and 2nd strings there, but it sounds even richer if you get that 4th string on the C chord as well. All right? And again, that just kind of anticipates that C chord there by hammering onto it like that. And then we play a brush thumb, and then followed by, while still fingering our C chord, play the 1st string, and then pull off to the open string, a skip stroke, and followed by a thumb on the 5th. So all together with that preceding brush that leads into that measure. Okay, a cool sound, and I don't think too tricky to get under your belt with a little practice. All right, next measure. Still with our still fingering the C chord now, so bring your finger back on that 2nd fret. Play the 1st string, followed by a drop thumb to the 2nd string, and your fingers are already on those frets. I typically move my ring finger all the way down to the 5th fret for this next note, which is then followed by a thumb on the 5th. So all together, those first 4 notes, leaving that finger on the 5th fret, play it again, followed by a thumb on the 5th, and then back again to the 2nd fret of the 1st string. So that whole measure, again, final measure we see up here. Release our fingers, we're back to a G chord. Play the open first, followed by a strum thumb. And then open first, followed by a drop thumb to the open 2nd. And then play the 2nd fret of the 1st string, followed by a thumb on the 5th. So that whole measure. Now everything you see at the top sounds like this. Going to the B part. And note that this is a Banjo level 3 to maybe 4 arrangement. So in the Banjo level 3 arrangements, one of the differences between those and level 2 is the use of drop thumbs, as well as skip strokes. So if you are not if you're still kind of getting the hang of those things, then there's also Banjo Level 2 arrangement for this tune in the vault. All right, so let me check for comments, questions. Okay. All right, so now this next part really is just very similar to what we did before. So we have the open first, followed by a brush thumb, then the open second, and then we're doing this same hammering on to the C chord across that measure. So that first measure. Okay. Now everything in the next two measures we've already done before. Same as we did before, we play the brush thumb, pull off on the first string to the open string, skip stroke to the fifth string. So again, that whole measure with the preceding strum. And then again, this same measure is exactly as we did before, playing that first string to the second with the drop thumb while we're fingering our C chord. Finger down to the 5th fret. So that whole measure. And now we're closing out this pass through the B part. And this should also look familiar because we've kind of seen this before as well, especially the last part of this measure. So start with the open first, skip stroke, followed by a thumb on the 5th. So, and then we have these descending 4 notes. Open first, with then a drop thumb on the 2nd, and then the 3rd string 2nd fret, followed by a thumb on the 5th. That whole measure. And now this is closing out this first run through the B part with just an open 3rd followed by a brush thumb twice in a row. So everything you see at the top sounds like this. Get that last strum in there. All right, moving on. Now again, like we did in the A part, we've already done one pass through the B part. You could play things just like you'd already done, but this is a little bit of a variation here that I'm playing, that I'm showing for the second time through. All right, check for comments. You are more than welcome. John, I'm glad you're enjoying it. So start again. Remember that the B part starts with a C chord, so get your fingers on the C chord. Play the first string followed by brush thumb. And again, this is now familiar territory, playing the same pull off on the first string, skip stroke to the thumb on the 5th, so that measure. Then we have this measure, which we've already seen a couple times already. This drop thumb from the 1st to the 2nd string while fingering the C chord, down to the 5th fret. So again, that's the same as before. Now this measure is a little bit different. This is one of the variations to this B part. So first the open first string. And now we've got the open second, followed by, you see the 1 down below that note with a circle around it that indicates that that's to be played by the fretting hand. In this case, a pull-off, because it's an open string. We can't hammer onto an open string. We're just pulling it off. So we're essentially just plucking that string with our fretting hand. So those 2 notes. Now again, I have a 1 there to note the index finger. You could really play that with any finger you like. And again, as I've demonstrated in other videos, you're just plucking that open string, so you could play it anywhere you wanted. Now you probably wouldn't want to play it anywhere, but just to demonstrate the point that all you're really doing is plucking the string with your left or your fretting hand. So the first 3 notes again. And again, what that's doing there is syncopating that 1 note. And as often is the case, after a syncopation, sometimes nice to throw in a skip stroke to highlight it. So we're gonna skip, and then rather than after the skip note playing the 5th string, we're just bringing our thumb down to the open 2nd. So this measure so far sounds like this. So again, and now the last 2 notes. We place our index finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string and then a thumb on the 5th. So this whole measure again. And so you can hear that syncopation, right? Instead of going, we're going. All right? Ba ba da ba da da, and that is allowed for by doing both that alternate string pull off and that skip stroke. 2 key things for throwing in syncopation. Now the next measure, just to open first, followed by a brush thumb, then the open 2nd, followed by a brush thumb. Oops, sorry. And now the final measure. Throw that back on our C chord. Play the 1st string followed by a brush thumb. The same pull off followed by a skip stroke to the thumb on the 5th. So now I'll play through the entire set we see at the top, set of measures. Close things out here with what we've seen several times before. Still on the C chord, the 1st string followed by a drop thumb to the 2nd, down to the 5th of the fret, back to the 2nd fret, followed by a thumb on the 5th. So again. Move to the next measure, which we've also should look familiar. This is closing out this pass through the B part. Open 1st string followed by a brush thumb, and then this descending run. Open 1st followed by the open 2nd with a drop thumb, then 3rd string 2nd fret followed by a thumb on the 5th. So that whole measure. And now the open 3rd followed by a brush thumb. And then if we're closing out the song, one final note on that open 3rd, which is the G string, which is our root note, which closes it out. If we were going to go back through the A part, all we would do is just do another pickup at the end of this measure, and then go back into that slide that opens up the A part. And so on. All right, so that is the how to play this particular tab for Waterbound, aka Stay All Night. And let's check for questions here real quick. So if you were going to sing along, I'll just give you an idea of kind of what to do there. Like I said, the A part is really the part with words, and the refrain there is stay all night, don't go home. Stay all night, don't go home. Stay all night, don't go home. Stay with me till morning. And again, there are verses, and that's the refrain, but they all have that same melody. So stay all night, don't go home. So there I just went. Could do something like this. Stay all night and don't go home. So what I did there, just kind of doubled my melody a little bit more. Stay all night and don't go home. Now we go to the D chord. Stay all night. So again, there when I'm singing, I usually would hammer on like I did in the arrangement. Stay all night, don't go home. So there. But to fancy it up a little bit, you could go stay all night, don't go home. So again, doubling what you're doing behind your voice. Stay all night, don't go home. And then stay all night and don't go home. Stay all night and don't go home. So stay all night, don't go home. Stay with me till morning. Stay with me till morning. Stay with me till morning. So stay all night and don't go home. 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 Stay with me till morning. So just some ideas there that you can try. Again, the most basic thing to do is just an alternating strumming pattern there, bum ditties, while fingering the chords. But this is one where you can pretty easily get, instead, when you're playing those bum strokes, double some of the melody notes. And that sounds very nice, I think, behind your voice. So that's some ideas for how you do it when you're singing. All right. Ian says, surprised at the amount of mental gymnastics with skipping note to a drop thumb. Yep. One of those things. Just give it a little time. It'll be your brain will freeze up at first trying it, but it definitely is something that comes easier with time. So referring to something like this, and just practice something like that. And also, I think it's linked in the video description, my video on syncopated skips, where I give a lot of different exercises on kind of mastering this technique, because it allows you to get so many different neat rhythms once you have the technique under your belt. And it's really just getting that one idea, being able to skip into a drop thumb. Start with just the 5th string, which is really the same, it's just a different string. And then the only difference is you're going to an inside string. And then you can do all sorts of neat rhythms. So if you are, some people are asking for the like button. I think if you're watching this inside of the course on clawhammerbanjo.net, you might not see it. So if you want, you can just click on where you see YouTube on the bottom of the video, and it'll pull it up in YouTube, and that's where you can see the thumbs up icon if you want to hit the thumbs up button. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you for asking. All right, so that's it for this one. You can check the schedule. If you're a course member, you can check the schedule for all the upcoming workshops in the Banjo Virtual Classroom. And if you subscribe to the Clawhammer Banjo channel, then you will be notified when I do these periodically for Gradient, for everyone to see. And also the replays for all of these are available to members inside of the archive for all of the workshops. All right, hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Saturday, and maybe we'll fill part of that time with learning this great song, Waterbound. Okay, I'll see you next time.